Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm joined by Duane Anderson, the master fitter here at the Kingdom. We've come into the putting studio. Big D, good to see you, fella.
Good to see you.
Had some questions outside. Absolutely think they're well worth you guys catching on. My number one question, you've seen me using this Armlock putter quite a bit, and I like it. It came in my What's in the Bag. Be sure to check that video out. What happens if you want to go conventional grip, if you want to go left below right, or like me, you want to go Armlock with claw? I'm going to get into that in this video. Be sure to subscribe and stick along. So, Duane, I have been using this Del Monte, and to good effect, to be fair. I look at my clip data, it's been going pretty good for me. I've got claw. I know I'm very right-eye dominant. And if I look at my data, I'll miss low on putts, often left to righters all the time.
Right.
And a right to left putt have a tendency to obviously push it up the hill. And when I put my stroke on camera, one of the great things that Tiger's talked about, and if we use this, which I grabbed from the Putter Studio recently, which is the reserve, and this is effectively our Soto. Tiger's, very similar to Tiger's, with the square shovels. You hear him talk about the release. He talks a lot about putting one-handed. Having worked with him as well, I know he practices with an 8802, a Wilson putter, which looks like our spot. And he very much is talking about releasing the putter. Now that position there, I had to get into with the blade released. And I feel like I shoved. So as a solve for that, I went into the Armlock. And that was my band-aid, as we can talk about.
Right.
And I would get in here, but I've obviously moved in more recent times to the claw. But it still feels like I'm trying to push the putter. Stats still show it's a low to the right miss. Now I've also noticed, and I've toyed around with it, if I go left below right, I feel that everything gets square. I can get in there. I wouldn't necessarily do it with an Armlock putter. But from there, I can try and work against what I perhaps don't like, because you can see my eyes want to tilt.
Sure.
And then I'm trying to just stay down on it and do everything the whole longer feels against what I want to do.
Right.
Results be okay, but how does someone come to you as the master club fitter here at the Kingdom and figure out the correct grip they should use? Is it a case of diving into the numbers? Or would there be a conversation around that they could expect to happen?
I would say more conversation. A lot of times people make those decisions of left below right, conventional Armlock is from trial and error, honestly. It's the data can show some things and some tendencies, but what we're dealing with, I think, first of all, is comfort level.
Yeah.
You've got to find something that's comfortable to stand over. And then, boy, eye dominance. It's massive in this equation. I think what you've been battling is a case of eye dominance.
I mean, our left eye is useless. If I literally close my right eye, I basically can't see.
Right.
It's just you. I don't know why that is. It's just mind makeup.
And I see a lot of players struggling that are, I'm in that same boat, where I'm severely right eye dominant, and seeing a right eye dominant player trying to putt from a square position can be problematic.
How do you feel? And I know we've got the stripe down here, which is brilliant. I do like the stripe, but I've noticed when I put a stripe on my golf ball or a line with a Sharpie on my golf ball, it often looks off. So I'll try and trust it. Again, conversations with Ricky Fowler at the photo shoots. I'll try and trust the line, but I can't get comfortable trusting the line.
Yeah, we need to find a position where that's square, then the blade is square to it. But the last part, our brain needs to agree with that. And what you're dealing with is your brain's telling you this just doesn't look right. Well, at that point, your brain's telling you to fix it. Yeah, and we need to be opening up to fix it. Yeah. Instead of what we tend to do as golfers, which is, no, you have to putt from a square position. Well, if you're severely right-eye dominant from a square position, your world is already over there when you look up. So generally, what we went through here a few minutes ago was, all of a sudden you stepped into the putt with your right foot first, and then you came into the putt this way, and you naturally set up slightly open, which is where your brain wants you to be.
Yeah.
Because now we get into a slightly open position. I'm not talking about this. So now this right eye can see down that line without compensating. And
so it's a bit Jack Nicklaus, it's a bit John Nate.
One of the classic things that I see a lot from a right-eye dominant player trying to putt from the square position is they get into the putt, and everyone's told them that needs to be square, everything's square, square, square. They get to this position, they set up, and the first thing they do to look at the target is go like this. They have to come out of their stance and try to see it this way, because they can't just tilt their head because they can't see it.
Yeah.
So as soon as I see a player standing in their dress position and going like this, well, that's a right 8 on that player who's trying to putt from a square position. Now, you did it perfectly. I didn't even say anything. You put the ball down, you stepped into the right foot first, and you set up, and all of a sudden you were slightly open to target. Now we don't have to move anything or make any compensations.
So 3 putters on the floor here that we've pulled out to look at. This is one I've used for the example. You could argue that wouldn't be in there. This was in the mixer, which is the TPA 18, now known as the Balboa number 8. So that's a lot of toe hang.
Yeah.
Another similarity when I look at these two, which we're going to get into the differences of, is toe hang. We talked with me about the release. And again, I touched on it there. I struggle to release the putter. Toe hang, how's that going to help me release? And also you mentioned offset of the Tiger putter.
Right.
How does that change the release?
One thing I saw with you with the Tiger type putter was with all that offset, it really forced you into this square to even, actually you were even a little closed position, and you didn't do that with any of the other putters.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting, which tells me you're cueing on all that offset.
Yeah.
You probably
hate offset. I hate offset.
Right? Hate offset. Well, because it's forcing you into the opposite of where you need to be. We're talking about releasing the putter. It's an interesting concept because between these two, the number 3 hosel, the short slant, actually has more toe down, which actually makes this putter harder to close. So yeah, that's gets interesting where people talk about releasing a putter. I think like in Tiger's case, he's talking about wanting to be able to release the putter. So he plays a putter that has some toe hang that doesn't shut when he tries to do that.
Yeah.
So it lets him go ahead and release it without shutting.
Statistically, I think it's the left to right putts. He's best there is.
Yeah.
Under the putter. Just holding the putter.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the release concept gets a little interesting, sometimes scary, because with your average golfer, a lot of times when they tell me they're trying to release the putter, what they end up doing is they come through and the handle stops and the face keeps going. Yeah. And they end up cross-line shut face because their goal in life is to get the putter to shut.
Yeah.
So that concept can cause some negativity in the mechanics.
So anyone watching this, however much toe hang, which is how the toe hangs in relation to the shaft, you got to be conscious of that, because if you overdo it, you could then end up with the Duane situation that we're talking about there, just releasing the head, almost double crossing your putter.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So out of these two then, this one would probably be more suited because it's getting us where we need with the look, but it's not with the excessive toe hang. Okay.
With the offset of the all-knife blade.
But versus over that one. Okay. And then technique-wise, get into this, what you would work on would then be moving into it and allowing the right eye.
So this was an interesting one, and you did it yourself without us even talking about it, was you started with that right foot first.
Yeah.
And by the time your brain puts you into a position, you're in a slightly open position. Now, what I want you to tell me is after you get into that position, does this line look correct now? As it should.
Yeah, I spend a bit more time focusing on this, ensuring that it's perfect, which I think it is there. Then yeah, I've always liked the line. It's certainly easier for me to see.
So
then the left foot and right hand position, you'd only do that. I mean, I know Spieth does it with a head tilt.
Right.
But you'd only really go into that if you were going to stand square.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of almost forces you into that position.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more a case of let's do the process correctly.
And I think a lot of times people that gravitate toward a left-hand low position, generally that comes from someone who's being very risky in their putting stroke.
Yeah.
What I would almost call putting right-handed.
Yeah.
Where as the putter comes through, the right hand engages, and all of a sudden that thing's over here.
Yeah.
Or someone who just has a lot of wrist action in their putting stroke, a lot of times that player will end up going left-hand low to stabilize that.
Yeah. So if I wanted to stick with this, I could.
I would just have you start the process with your right foot. The beauty of it is once you do this, put the putter down and look at target to set up, your brain's going to put you in a position that it thinks square is.
Yeah.
Instead of you dictating what square is. Yeah. Let your brain put your body in a position to roll that putt down that line. It's something. I'm not asking you to do anything you do every time you hit a golf shot.
Yeah.
Because you hit a driver, you would never have your head on the ball and set up into this perfect position, feet, shoulder, square, and then look at target and don't move.
Yeah, you'd adjust.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about claw? Why is claw being so popular?
I think it's the same idea as that right hand. The people that putt right-handed, the people that have very active wrists in their putting stroke, the claw helps stabilize that in case the right hand out of the putting stroke.
Jack, so in summary, eye dominance can really impact the amount of toe, the amount of offset that you go. Left eye dominant, probably, to be fair, would you say it's a better place to be for a putter?
It can be. It's much easier to putt from a square position now, I think, from a left eye dominant player.
And generally, would you say it's fair that if you're left eye dominant, you might be more into a face balanced type putter? If we were generalizing, isn't just too general.
That's tough.
Yeah. I've certainly seen that left eye dominant tour players have the choice of any amount of toe. And right eye dominant tend to go. Correct.
Yeah.
That would be the general thing that I have seen.
Yeah.
And that's go with Dustin, Hideki, Rory, Rahm. Figure out which eye dominance you have. Get yourself down with a chalk line or a putt like this and work out if you need to stand a little bit more open or square to it. And then that could impact the type of putter model that you use. Thanks, Duane. If you want to check it out, I'll put all his Instagram handles down in the description below.